Chapter 27. The Cay. Our first stop, Isla de Providencia, 13 degrees 21 north latitude, 81 degrees 22 longitude west, together with Isla Santa Catalina, rose silently as we approached, shaped like a sweet potato, about 10 miles long and 3 wide, taking in several cays, one of which was palm-covered. Low mountains were on both islands. Under a hot noon sun, we soon anchored in Catalina Harbor, where the water was so clear you could see crabs crawling on the white sand bottom. Bright-colored fish swam by. Nearby were a half-dozen sea-worn turtle schooners. No one aboard them. Looking around, my father said, "I don't believe this. We have to be at the edge of the world." I felt the same. We'd gone to a strange place that few people knew of, a place so remote that its owner, Colombia, cared little about its existence. Neither did any other nation. It was just a tiny blue shape on a nautical chart. 2 flashing lights marked it. Several hundred yards away, on the beach, was streetless Isabel Village, a collection of weather-beaten shacks where the turtle fishers lived. There was little sign of life as we paddled ashore in our rubber dinghy, but life did exist there. 30 or 40 grizzled fishermen, the brown and black men of Isabel, cackled and shook their heads when my father said he wanted to go to the Devil's Mouth. "Why go there?" they asked. "That's right, why go there?" they said. "Dom Cay's not worth the time and trouble." "Take some pictures," my father said. The men cackled again. "Take pictures? Cay's rounder? Palm, Basalt, Low? Take Split Hill, Morgan Head, Alligator Point?" "That's right." It was not until my father said we'd pay for a guide that several became interested. Then coins were flipped. 2 days later, I stood on the bow of the Aldez Aventadero as it sailed northeast from Providencia. The weather hadn't changed, still sunny and warm. A few high white clouds were on the west over Nicaragua, just enough breeze to belly out the mainsail and jib. The sea was indigo, 5 or 6 shades darker than the sky's blue. A beautiful day in the tropics. War was not talked of or thought about. White-haired Eglantine Evermond, the turtle fisherman we'd hired, stood with the tiller between his knees, silently looking out from beneath his battered straw hat. My father sat beside him. Captain Evermond was taking us to Boca del Diablo, the Devil's Mouth. He didn't know why he was taking us. He didn't care. $50 and a bottle of rum were what brought him there. Caribbean sun had turned its wrinkled blackness into chocolate. He was a small man, missing most of his teeth. We'd guessed he was in his 60s, but his eyes were fish-hawk sharp. He said he'd been netting green turtles since he was big enough to climb into a cot boat. He was from Green Cayman Island to the northeast. By mid-morning, we knew we were getting near the horseshoe of coral that harbored Timothy's Cay. I didn't know how I knew it, I just felt it, the way you feel the neighborhood in which you live. About 40 minutes later, Captain Evermond said, "Boca de Diablo," and nodded ahead. We were coming in from the east, the same way the raft had drifted. Taking off my glasses, I put the binoculars to my eyes. Tops of palm trees clustered on the horizon. The island wasn't visible as yet. My heart began to thud as I counted the palms. If there were 15, it was my Cay. Our Cay. I knew there were 15 because I'd climbed each one. I could only count 7 now, but I knew others were tucked in behind them. My father was standing. "Is that it?" I think so. My heart drummed. The aldeias of Ventadero seemed to be creeping along, but slowly the island grew. First the palms, then the whiteness of sand below them, rising to what Timothy had said was the height of the island, about 20 feet. I put the binoculars down and wiped my eyes. The lenses were fogging up. My hands shook. I shouted back to them, "I'm sure that's it." When I looked through the binoculars again, I saw the hut to the right of the palms. "It is!" I shouted. "I see the hut!" Though I'd only touched it before, I was certain it was the one I'd rebuilt. My father joined me on the bow and took a look. "This cay's smaller than the one you described. Timothy had told me it was about a mile long and a half-mile wide. Now that I see it, it was less than a mile long and less than a quarter-mile wide. I suddenly realized he'd done that on purpose, to make me feel better about being there. I wondered what other little lies he'd told me to push away fear. Now I could see some low brush and sea grape. "'Tis a beautiful cay, this cay," Timothy had said. He was right. Soon we were within 100 yards, and the water was becoming shallow, coral heads visible beneath us. I only glanced at them, held by the sight ahead. Captain Evermann shouted, "Drop the anchor!" and I tossed the Danforth over the side as the mainsail came down. My father quickly lowered the jib, and within a few minutes the sloop rose at anchor. "Go," my father said, and I passed the binoculars to him, grasped my glasses in my right hand, and dove. Even the warm water tasted the same as I kicked toward the beach. Finally, my feet hit bottom. I remembered a little shelf and was glad I had tennis shoes on. Sea urchins lived on that shelf, and their sharp spines were painful. I waded in and took off my sneakers, digging my toes into the familiar, warm, soft sand. I saw the remains of my fire pile. 9 months of wind had not entirely erased the charred wood. I walked along each beach, remembering. Then I went uphill to the palm trees and our crude but strong hut and Timothy's grave. I looked down. The coral stones and shells were still where I'd left them. I stood there for a little while, feeling very close to him, shut my eyes, then said, "Dis be that outrageous cay, Timothy?" On the wind that was rustling the palms, I thought I heard laughter and a voice from above that said, "Dis be it, Philippe." I wasn't dreaming. The end.